Good evening. I'm Toshio Okada. Toshio Okada's Mobile Suit Gundam Lecture, Session 14. Today's topic is Core Fighters Escape. Good morning. Well, not really. It's already 8 at night. Sorry about that. I stayed inside all day and lost track of the season. Well, not literally all day. In the evening, I went to the sleep-breathing clinic and swapped my CPAP machine. I replaced the Philips unit with a Teijin machine. Anyway, it's Tuesday, July 2nd. First, a message from a viewer with the handle Koko in Fukui Prefecture. Good evening, Mr. Okada. Your Gundam lecture raised a question for me. You said White Base's re-entry was disrupted by Char, forcing a landing near California under Zeon control. From Los Angeles to Sao Paulo is about 10,000 kilometers, so why not just head south to South America? Why circle westward around the globe about 40,000 kilometers to reach Jaburo? Here's why. I've prepared a simple world map. White Base aims for Jaburo in South America, around here, but Char's interference left them in California. Then why not just go straight south from there? Why detour to Japan's Tottori sand dunes? Then cut across Mongolia to Odessa on the Black Sea, and even on to Belfast in the United Kingdom? That's the question. Why not just go straight and instead stop by the Tottori sand dunes, then pass through Mongolia, then go to Odessa near the Black Sea, and finally Belfast in the UK? Making a huge loop? That's the point. Put simply, Zeon's defensive line around South America was extremely strong. They had forces positioned to encircle Jaburo, the Earth Federation's largest remaining stronghold. So whether White Base tried a Pacific route to enter Jaburo from the east or anything else, it was impregnable and impassable. That's the in-universe reason. Beyond that, Mobile Suit Gundam actually modeled itself on 3,000 Leagues in Search of Mother by Isao Takahata and Hayao Miyazaki. When Heidi, Girl of the Alps, and 3,000 Leagues were made, Yoshiyuki Tomino storyboarded and was scolded repeatedly by Takahata. He was told, "This won't do. There's no realism." The same goes for Anne of... After that training from Takahata, Tomino asked, "So what can I make?" and chose 3,000 Leagues as his model. The original novel of 3,000 Leagues is only about 30 to 40 pages long, a very short story. Tomino was amazed that Takahata spun it into a year-long drama. Oh, so that's how you build drama. By sending the boy protagonist around the world, the work shows what a wartime state actually is. For example, a mid-series desert battle, the naval port of Belfast, and Jaburo in South America. Sending Amuro to such places shows a world at war. Not just glimpsed from the ship, he sometimes goes down, mixes with locals, and gains experience. When Amuro steals the Gundam in deserts, that short talk with an old man in the desert, asking for water, may look like filler. But it's Tomino's device for showing a planet in an extreme wartime state. He also wanted to try his own take on 3,000 Leagues. His ambition was to let us circle the globe through Amuro Ray's eyes. Please keep that in mind. Now about this episode. Core Fighters escape. Thanks for the great letter. Coco will receive a June sticker. So then, Core Fighters escape. The Core Fighter is the capsule inside the Gundam's torso that unfolds into a small plane. This one's 1/35th scale, so it's quite large. Even the windows pop out like the OP shot where Amuro boards during the still burning with anger line. It's a nice model kit. They plan to use it for ballistic flight. Ballistic flight means a rocket or missile path that doesn't reach orbital velocity. The model here is the X-15 rocket plane's course. Tomino admired it as a child. The X-15 reached about Mach 5 to Mach 6 with 2 minutes of acceleration. Likewise, they plan to skim so-called space altitude, around 100 kilometers, and go straight to South America. So not flying through the atmosphere like a normal plane, more like a missile. Accelerate hard at the start, then, like a stone tossed high, arc far above Zeon's airspace and reach Jaburo. That's the idea. An officer warns Amuro. The first 30 seconds will be rough. He's probably one of the injured officers who came down with the Salamis capsule. He says they'll launch the Core Fighter using the center catapult. They clamp a girder under its belly, then yank it with the central steam valve in one big pull. At the same time, they blast the rear booster for a 30-second burn. That acceleration would be around 5 grams, roughly 50 meters per square second, I think. At 50 meters per square second, after 1 second, it's 50 meters per second. After 7 seconds, it's 350 meters per second. After 30 seconds, terminal speed is about 500 meters per second, around Mach 4.5, or roughly 5,000 kilometers per hour. Amuro thinks this will get him to Jaburo. Will Amuro's bold plan succeed? Please enjoy Mobile Suit Gundam Lecture 14, first half commentary on Core Fighters Escape. Here we go. Toshio Okada's Mobile Suit Gundam Lecture. Today we cover the first half of Episode 7, Core Fighters Escape. Within Mobile Suit Gundam, this episode is treated as fairly low-key. When making a year-long series, creators think in cores, 12 or 13 episodes per core, 4 cores total. They lock down the first core tightly, because it can be prepared in advance. By the second core, you're producing it while finishing the first. Studios enter their second and third cycles. There are usually 2 or 3 subcontract studios. Each has done, say, episode 4 or 5. After a couple rounds, the show hits Core 2. So in the first core, everyone's new to the title, and the storyboards tend to be tightly specified. Episode 7 really is modest. The hero Amuro flies out in the core fighter and comes back. Basically, that's it. Battle scenes feel tacked on. As a robot show, sponsors demanded a robot fight every week, so they were added. Especially this episode and the next, the battlefield is a wasteland, are subdued. You could only show this kind of slow, character-building pacing if you started with a 52-episode plan, and particularly in Core 1. So yes, it's a quiet episode. Yet it's one of my favorites in all of Gundam. It's more like a refined mystery, or rather action thriller. As strategy drama, it's great. White Base thinks one way, Zeon another. Nobody's foolish. Each acts as their role demands. A key point, it continues directly from Episode 6. In Episode 6, Garma strikes. Garmazabi, Zeon's Earth Theater commander, commits ground forces to attack White Base. Until then, Char's unit alone had chased them, basically a single destroyer against White Base. In Garma Strikes, a senior Zeon planned a proper assault. Even so, they couldn't sink White Base, so Garma stuck several Lugan recon planes on them to keep watch. White Base is fleeing under constant surveillance. Episode 7 starts right there. First we see a Lugan flying overhead. The camera pans. A glint in the distance reveals White Base. Then we push in and enter the ship. You feel the pressure of being watched non-stop. The background track is that dark, shakuhachi-like wail. We start with open sky, then a long shot of White Base, then a close-up, then we slip through one window. Inside the centrifugal gravity block, evacuees just sit around listlessly. Sayla, Mass, and Frabo speak to the elderly evacuees, trying to cheer them up. But nobody replies. Sayla stands at the edge of the frame. No one even looks at her. Avoided eye contact signals that communication has broken down. In the last shot of the scene, Fra says to speak up if they need anything, yet still no one even meets her eyes. On the big canvas, White Base is isolated, watched by Garma, alone in the sky. Zooming inside, divisions among the people are deepening. Arguments at least mean engagement. The most hopeless state is speaking to them and getting no reply. Meanwhile, the previous episode even shows Char taking a shower. He has the leisure to coolly reassess enemy strength. White Base has no such luxury. At first they only wanted to escape Side 7. If they reached Luna 2, they'd be fine, but Luna 2 refused them. They left Luna 2 and descended to Earth, thinking the Earth Federation HQ would save them. But they couldn't reach HQ, wandered into Zeon territory, and had to keep making hopeless escapes. They're being cornered more and more. In Episode 7, Amuro shows unusual initiative. After being passive, he proposes using the core fighter for a ballistic flight to contact Earth Federation Forces headquarters. In rare, proactive fashion for him, he even presents the plan to Bright Noah, explaining how it could work. But even that drive gets swallowed up by others, lack of understanding, and by shortcomings in his own plan. In most earlier shows, when the hero snaps out of it, things get better quickly. We're used to listless protagonists like Shinji Ikari, so it doesn't feel odd now. But Mobile Suit Gundam aired around 1979. Characters like that didn't exist then. Robot anime leads were hot-blooded types who shouted, "We can do this," while others said no. Into that came Amuro, a low-temperature character. By Episode 7, he finally shows a little drive, yet even that gets crushed. That was unusual back then. Then something discourages him again. As a college student watching the broadcast, I worried, what was the creator thinking? Does he want this to be entertaining? Yet it's far better than typical anime. After Gundam, those hyper-motivated leads who rally everyone started to feel fake. In Gundam, friendship and solidarity mean, even amid mutual distrust, you support each other with competence. Not, we trust because we know each other's hearts, but, he piloted the gun cannon, she bandaged the wounded, working builds solidarity. Years later, Hayao Miyazaki said much the same in Spirited Away. In that film, Chihiro loses her name, is called Sen, and by working hard finds her place and grows independent. When the film opened, critics raved. I thought, come on, Tomino did that long ago in Gundam. You're just not noticing. Part of why I champion Gundam and Ghost in the Shell is frustration at later works getting all the praise when earlier ones already did it. Highlights this time. First, political anxiety aboard White Base. Kids trying to fix a desperate situation versus adults, the original crew, later additions, and evacuees from Side 7, each with their own stance. Those evacuees eventually rise in revolt. Also, Char and Garma realize how formidable White Base and the Gundam are, and are stunned. Plus a strangely proactive, upbeat Amuro. Lots to watch. There's also Kai Shiden. I'll go into detail later, but I honestly think Kai is one of the story's leads. This episode hints at that. Let's start from the beginning. As I said, there's that scene where Fra asks people to tell her anytime if they need anything. It shows, through a lack of eye contact, that everyone aboard is disconnected. This is a world with no single villain. They're not divided because someone is unkind or hot-tempered. Look at blog posts about Episode 7, and you'll see many get angry at the elderly evacuees. They call them selfish and say, "I don't want to be like that," but that's a dangerous way to think. When things get extreme, an earthquake, a shipwreck, people split into strong and weak. The strong are those who find what to do in the crisis. A survival switch flips. The weak may ask for water or a bath, even after a bus falls into a ravine, or a ship wrecks on an island, and the strong get irritated. It's not about good or bad. It's just how people split under stress. In such times, the strong truly feel the weak are a burden. They think, everyone knows the situation is dire, so fight it. Look for water, catch fish, do something. What makes the weak? Weak is appealing to the strong instead of fighting the situation. On White Base, they beg Bright to just let them off the ship. But that's simply because they're weak. If Bright's group all died and the evacuees had to run the ship, soon a leader would insist on reaching Federation territory rather than disembarking. People split into strong and weak. It's not good people versus bad people. Those who find meaning in a role become strong. Those who can't become complainers. Among the weak, someone may try to unite opinions and become a strongman. Then the weakest of the weak complain about him too. If you miss that structure, Gundam looks like annoying old men grumbling. I hate seeing that in Gundam guides. Don't be so shallow. We grown-up nerds who still watch anime are weak in society's eyes. We should understand this structure best. Yet we still split characters into good and bad, or treat the weak as enemies. If you're rewatching Gundam as an adult, keep that in mind. That's the end of the first half. The free portion ends here, but let me add a bit more commentary. The Zeon Lugan recon plane I mentioned looks incredibly cool. Like the core fighter kit, I got a larger Lugan model. I'll try building it. The anime even shows its cockpit, a bent pipe body with one-man cockpits above and below. Very distinctive. Lots of cool shots. Right now you can watch all of Mobile Suit Gundam on Amazon Prime Video, so please do after this commentary. I'm talking my heart out to get you to watch Gundam. A bit more about the evacuees. They're evacuees too, Amuro and friends as well. At first, having barely escaped Side 7, they were simply grateful to be aboard Whitebase. A day later they still got food and water. They should feel gratitude to fellow evacuee volunteers like Sayla and Fra. But after a week crammed in rooms, apathy spreads. This episode says it's 2 days since leaving Luna 2, so probably only 4 or 5 days since Side 7 was attacked. So it's the time when apathy starts creeping in. Amid that, a small hope sprouts. Maybe they can return to Earth. In the Universal Century, over 50 years after space emigration, only the elite live on Earth. Everyone else was pushed into space. People living in space colonies are basically those Earth discarded. One old man says he ran a coffee plantation in South America. He was forced off his land when the Federation built its secret base at Jaburo and was sent into space. Many in space were told, never return to Earth. They thought they'd never set foot on Earth again. Then Side 7 was attacked. They fled and survived, only to be stuck aboard for a week. By chance they can descend now, drop altitude, and they can land. They may also fear that if they go straight to Jaburo, as Bright says, they'll be launched back into space. Someone asked, what about poor kids like Miharu in Belfast? Are they elite too? Sadly, that was before the war. Before the war, the poor were pushed into space, and Earth held the elite. Even so, after 50 years, some elites fell, and the wealth gap widened. Then, 6 months ago, a massive war and even a disaster said to speed Earth's rotation by 1.2 seconds per hour left the planet devastated. Now many must live as war orphans. The situation is chaos. But the evacuees on White Base don't know that. Living in space cities, they don't grasp Earth's ruin. So they believe that once on Earth, the greenery, rain, rivers, and sea will let them live. No more space farm life. Just plant seeds and they'll grow. They remember only the good and long to return to the Earth in their memories. They have no idea that half the planet has turned to desert due to the colony drop. In Episode 8, The Battlefield is a Wasteland, we see the shock of people learning that. Director Tomino reveals such things step by step through episode, but we rarely view the story from the Space Knowers' perspective. So we see old evacuees insisting they must get to Earth as selfish. Next he shows a mother who thought nature remained, stunned to find her homeland blasted as if by nukes, again, step by step. But we tend to focus on the cool robot battles. Hence these extra comments from me. That's it for the free section. From here we'll switch to the second half video. The latter half is for paid members. Since it's just turned July, please consider joining the Toshio Okada channel to keep watching. Please switch over to the second half. Thanks.